see that.
Okay.
Sound is speeding?
Good guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be speed.
Take 4.
That was his name in there so you can see the rest of it. Like, I like him. Andy's good.
C,
I
Mark.
like him too, yeah. I was just talking about him with my sister.
C, Mark.
When you're a stone's throw away from Hollywood, it can feel like you're on the D list or the C list or maybe the Y list. But we know if you're not on the A list, you're actually on the Z list. So we are Z-listers, and we're here to talk shop about A-listers. Talk shop.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Loving and the director, Jeff Nichols. Loving was a great, it's the pride and joy of Virginia filmmaking. And yeah.
It's about an interracial couple. She was Black Cherokee, and he was white Irish, I think. And their marriage was considered illegal in the state of Virginia.
Yeah, it's a huge story. I mean, you know, my wife is white and being from Virginia, and you don't think about those kind of things, you know, and you take them for granted a little bit because you're like, oh yeah, we're married, you know, you don't really look at it as like, oh yeah, you know, this was only 50 some odd years ago or a little bit plus that it's still, you know, my parents are in their 60s, you know, they lived through this, and it's a big part of history that I think again a lot of people take for granted because there's so many now interracial marriages, and to be shot here in Virginia where it was legalized, I mean, I think it just added so much depth to it. I remember getting on set that day, like my first day on set, and I get into the trailer, and Joel was sitting in his seat, and I'm like, oh God, that's Joel, man, that's the guy, you know? And he was just so relaxed and just so very comfortable in where he was at. Like you could just tell he had totally embraced Virginia. And then, you know, and then seeing his relationship with Ruth on set when the camera stopped was probably some of the best, like, off-screen acting that you could like really like imagine. Like they were in love offset, and then just to bring that onto the screen was just it was so natural to them, and it was a really great piece for Virginia to have.
So I hear you had an unusual audition process.
Yeah, I did. With so my manager sent me the sides, and it was like for a film. I just moved to New York maybe 2 years before I shot Loving, and I was in this apartment. I didn't have like a blank wall in my apartment at all. Everything was just taken up. And I auditioned for this film, and I was like, man, where am I going to shoot this at? You know, and usually I self-tape in front of like a backdrop or something professional, right? I didn't have anything, man. I was tired, completely tired. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to shoot this at my kitchen table, eating a bowl of cereal. Because it was the scene, the scenes we were in was like a dinner scene. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to spit my lines, and I'm going to eat this bowl of cereal. I'll never hear back from this film. I was like, let me get a tape in. Right. And Lord knows I got a call back. And I was like, okay, I got a call back. And next thing you know, Jeff, you get the email from the production companies. Jeff's like, he wants to set up a Skype interview with you. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, and I got on the interview, and I told Jeff, I was like, I can't lie to you. I never thought I would even get like a look at this because of how not unprofessional it was, but just how different it was from what I'm used to doing self-tape auditions for. And his exact word, no, I was like, he's like, I loved it. I loved everything about it. He's like, matter of fact, can you go get like a bowl and go sit at the table and just set the camera? We'll do the scene, me and you right here. And
over Skype.
Oh, we did the scene over Skype, and he was like, yeah, it's yours. You can, it's right there on Skype. He told me it was mine. But it was just, it's interesting because it just kind of shows what he's looking for. Maybe I think is like a little bit of realness in it, and then being on set with him, he's a great actor's director. You know, like he's such a great actor's director. He gives great notes and is very soft. I mean, like he just I don't think there's a single mean bone in his body. There could be, but just everything was just so great.
Yeah, because he was really cool. Because I'm like seeing the 35mm film that they're using. They're using real film and the real camera's like, oh my god.
Yeah,
who still knows how to use this?
He was he's got such a great eye. I mean, if you see Loving and then like, you know, Midnight Special and then Mud that he's done. I mean, they're just they're visually like pretty, you know.
Oh, well,
you worked on it too.
Yeah.
We've all worked on Loving.
Speaking of visually pretty, I'll take it. I worked on Loving. Yeah. I had an interesting introduction to my role in Loving. I was behind the scenes. I remember being interviewed for the job to come on, and I had gotten referred from the wardrobe supervisor on Mercy Street, and I only worked a portion of that show because I was finishing up another project. But the few weeks that I did work, I must have had a lasting impression because she gave the supervisor on Loving my name. So when he called, he had a little bit of a backstory on me. I was brave, and I said, honestly, my husband and I are trying to start a family. And that's kind of something that we'd been just thinking about. So I'd like to start after Labor Day. And he was like, I'd never done that before because in this industry, you show up. You're not laying the parameters. Right. Somebody else is telling you when you're to be and what time to be there. So I was brave. And then, I got pregnant. And I was about 10 weeks pregnant when I showed up to work this feature film, and I had a set job. So if anybody, set hours are never the same, and you're shooting at dawn on Monday, and by Friday you're into Saturday. And I was really nervous, and the designer was coming out of LA, and I didn't want to tell anyone because I didn't want to already be put into a category. I wanted to be on set, and I knew I had to be a part of this project. So I held it close, and then she'd been in town for a week, and I said, all right, Amelia, you gotta tell them. Right. So I went into the office, and I had Erin was sitting in the seat, and the supervisor was sitting next to her, and I looked at it and I said, I want to be here. I'm pregnant. I can do this job.
Kind of like, here's a kid.
Erin looks at me. She looked at Johnny. She looked back at me. I'm pregnant too. So we were 3 weeks apart.
That's crazy.
Yeah. We were both in our first trimester, so I call my little girl my loving baby.
And it's funny because we were referencing. I was like, the last time I saw you I was like, I think it was 3 years ago. You're like, yeah, my daughter's 3. We did Loving together. It was 3 years ago. Yeah, it's a lot of things. That film has. There's a lot more stuff coming to Virginia and Richmond, but that one really helped put Virginia film on the map. I mean, and then when Ruth got nominated for the Oscar for it, I mean, well deserved. I remember sitting here, we had lunch together, one day on set, and I was just like, I saw you in World War Z, and you're really good. And I was like, she's just such this beautiful soul. And then for her to get nominated for the Oscar, and then Loving to get such a national, recognition, and then to put Jeff on the map, it was special for Virginia as a whole, and it was a good movie too.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you seen any of his other movies?
No. While we were in prep for Loving, we watched Midnight Special.
Yeah, and it's a great movie.
And it's a completely different
movie,
genre type of. Have you seen Midnight Special? I think you'd be very interested to see the VR.
Yeah.
There's a lot of.
It's a little boy who has superpowers.
Not VR necessarily, but at the end, they create this whole. I don't know, other parallel
dimension.
and it just comes out of a field of grass.
It's still all based in the South, though, right? Like it seems like I've seen some other of his movies, and it seems like everything that he does is really based. It's very like location based. It's very much
He's
just like
from Nebraska, I think he's
Really?
Arkansas.
Arkansas. Yes, he's from Arkansas.
Okay.
But
But he went to school in North Carolina. Got his film degree there.
And I was watching. He draws a lot of that from that southern kind of, because Mud with Matthew McConaughey is such a southern.
Yeah,
you
but
know,
it just
draw
seems
to
like
it.
for him, like it's very location based. It's like the locations for him are really, really important. So it's like you can't do a Virginia film in Louisiana. You can't do a Virginia film like somewhere else because it's like it's got to be real.
Especially not this story.
Yeah.
Well, Virginia allows so much opportunity for locations because you have the ocean and military, where we filmed the last 30 minutes of Captain Phillips. We utilized all of that with the Navy, and then you've got the mountains, Appalachia, and everything in between. You have historical town of Richmond.
Yeah, and there's so much that's untouched. That's why they like it.
There's
you know?
untouched,
Like,
and there is support. It's not 100% where we would want it to be, but really, it's competitive.
It's competitive, and I
It's
would
competitive.
love to see more films come to Virginia.
If
It's
you
such
want
an open
a
market.
historical film to be made,
Yeah.
then you should come here, definitely.
And it's so
because
funny
the
they're-
crew
And
is.
it's so funny that
And I'm
they're
going to throw
doing
Maryland in there too.
Yeah, and Maryland, and it's so funny that they're doing it. I mean,
I'm sorry, I should say Virginia, DC, and Maryland.
the
Let's just say.
DMV.
The other tri-state area.
The other
But you're right. I mean, like for period. I mean, because you go from Lincoln. You now
Yes,
they're
I went to
doing
Lincoln.
Harriet. Now
Yeah.
they're doing They Did Love It. You even go into like Killing Lincoln and like the other period pieces that are set in historic Virginia. You know, it's a good place to do some film.
Yeah.
I want to pause this right here. We'll talk more about this when we come back. We're going to take a quick break. And we're back on Z-Listers. Before we took our break, we were talking about Virginia film and film production in Virginia. There's a lot of great stuff happening here. You mentioned historical pieces.
Virginia is like marinating in history. So the projects that have come here have really been about utilizing the locations that are here, and people have learned how to be in the middle of a field and shoot in January at night at 2 a.m. right?
Virginia is for film
And
lovers.
I always like to say that we've been in the trenches here, and also those trenches, they're deep and dense. There's folks that come out of the woodworks, and they're always present. Like we've got a really good representation of folks who can make things happen here. We still struggle. We have to fight the fight. We're going to lose projects because incentives play better in other states. I mean, look at Atlanta, Hotlanta. I mean, there's over 25 productions going on at any given point. But that also leads to my concern of bringing in people who haven't gone through the proper training, because safety is always so important. So I like coming to focus on a state where, even though we've done a lot.
Yeah.
We've done a
I mean,
lot
at this
of projects.
It's almost like thing
But,
that we
you know,
preached again, quality.
It's possible we might lose a George Washington biopic series, and I don't know all of the ins and outs, but you'd think that they would come right here.
He's a Virginia native son.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that we might lose some projects, but the projects that come here were meant to be here.
Yeah.
So,
But I do also like with the dissemination of technology, and the more that we have access to digital film, filmmaking becomes easier and easier. And it has become, an easier process, and anybody can have access to it. It's a matter of telling stories. And I think, I love Loving because it's a story that came from Virginia and was made in Virginia. And I would love for that to continue. I would love for that to continue. People who are born and raised in Richmond or in Virginia to be able to articulate their stories and also produce them here. And have them be seen on a national scale. I don't think that that's, I don't think that's impossible. I think that actually in the future, because we have so much of this technology available, each state's going to have their own Hollywood, and they're able to tell their own stories.
I do see Virginia. It's going to take some time, but I wouldn't be surprised if we'll be on,
because it's like
on the map.
I think they need
the people who come
studio.
here are quickly immersed, and they see
And they
that
see
there
it.
is
And they're
value here.
Yeah, and they're shooting it, like,
And
they're
then we
shooting
have
it now,
people
too.
who are speaking on our behalf. So
And you go back to what you said, which is important, because I've worked in many places on different films, like from Alaska to LA to Florida to Virginia, and there's nothing like the crews that you work with, the production crews and the companies that you work with in Virginia. It's because I think
We're much nicer.
much nicer. Don't get me wrong on that, but it goes back to like the homework and the time that people have put into to study and learn film, like the crews that we shoot with. They know what they're doing, and it's not just like a whim off the, we're just here to make a quick change. Like you feel like a sense of love again when you're on. When I'm on set in Virginia, people are always like, I live in New York. They're like, why do you go home to Virginia? It's because not only am I from here, but it's an enjoyment for me to film in Virginia.
Virginia is for film.
Virginia is for film.
I've experienced that as well. I mean, like the crews that I've worked on, again, slightly different field, but it's like we'll have talent come in from like the New York area or like even like Miami, and they'll come and they'll fly in on their big planes and come and watch us film some things, and they'll be like, you guys have so much love on your set. Like they'll actually come up and like say to us, they're just like, you guys are just like having so much fun in what you do. Like I would love to work with you guys again because you guys just bring joy.
Yeah, because part of it is
set.
it's like you see the same people on the sets all the time, so, and over the years, and you just build that camaraderie.
There's definitely, even when I was going to undergrad at VCU, I felt like a significant part of the film community, and it was more accessible. People were friendlier. I was able to talk and
And it's not a major market. When I was at UVA, I ran into Erica Arvold, off the whim that I was an actor, and then this was 2007. 11 years now. I'm still talking to her and booking with her, and
you don't
keeping
need
this
an agent.
relationship, and and it's just and we thank God I do have representation, but there's nothing for me to pick up the phone and shoot Erica a call or a text and be like, how you doing?
Arvold casting.
And it's just
even Ann Chapman.
Ann Chapman.
She was was the casting director that booked me in my first film roles for consistently for about 5 of them. Yeah.
And they keep in touch, and even the people that we work with on the crew, and even the crew here,
Or
you
the
see
film
them.
commission.
Yeah, and when I ran into
they show up every set.
Film commission.
Film commission. Andy Edmonds and Dawn out of the film commission's office, and they come out and they, they'll bring someone along, like the owner of the building we've taken over.
But that is great. There is a sense of pride in being able to house a story and films become their own family.
And you could see the excitement just roll through Virginia when a new film's coming, which is it's like a new film coming to New York. Great. You know what I mean? But they're doing this in Virginia. People are, you go to the cinemas, it boosts the economy, the restaurants are buzzing, they're the local shops are just so happy.
That's the story we need to tell our legislators, because I believe that the confusion now on the Hill is very much the money isn't coming back to the state, that it's going away. These projects come in and they get and they go out. But they forget that we are housing these folks, that we are eating in their restaurants, that we are using local artisans to restore furniture, to rent, and we donate and we recycle and we really do try to leave no trace behind when we leave a historical building, and but those are the stories we need to tell our legislators, so they understand that this is a gift. Okay, this is revenue that you didn't budget
and not
for.
to talk about how many actors, A-list actors that live in Charlottesville,
or the ones who never lived here before, but they came here and bought property and invested
and
there.
shot a film, and they're like, this is
Sissy Space
The Rock just bought this crazy
Well, no, he's been living
He's
in.
been here.
Yeah,
but
he's
I
from.
think
He's
like,
multiple.
Yeah,
Rumors
yeah.
that Pharrell wants to build something.
Oh, well, he's from Virginia Beach
He's
area.
from Virginia Beach area. Wants to build a.
Dwayne Johnson's from Virginia?
No, he's not. He's
Oh,
from
okay. I
Hawaii.
was like, see,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, no, but he's been in. He's had a place in Charlottesville for apparently a while. He has horses.
Oh, okay. Robert Duvall.
Oh
Has a
yeah,
horse
Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
For Aquaria.
Heard that.
I think there probably is something to be said for the amount of like love and I mean, there's love and joy everywhere, but there is a good quality of life here.
Because it's like on Homeland, we shot some scene like in the fan area, and the residents, the neighbors, they're sitting on the porch and they're seeing like how we're cold and stuff like that. Some come out like, "Hey, you want such and such? Got some hot chocolate?" It's like, "Oh, you're so cool, thank you. I'm moving here."
Yeah, you'll see. We talked about how a director will come back with their own crew over and like loyalty with that. Well, there's loyalty to the state.
Yeah.
Big directors, multi-million-dollar movies.
Can you-
Come here.
right?
I mean, Steven Spielberg. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You
That
know,
was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, like when I graduated college, it was the first thing that I worked on was Lincoln, and you know, we were like, "Yo, Spielberg's
He's
coming
been
to
here
Virginia."
4 times now? 3
I think
times?
so.
Yeah.
Because
War
Lincoln
of
was
the
really
Worlds.
Yeah, World
Minority
of Worlds are
Reports.
part of that was shot there. Yeah, there's
Lincoln.
something to say about that.
Yeah.
That all these big name directors coming.
Tom
to Virginia.
Hanks,
Yeah.
executive producer on John Adams.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
came back for
I worked
Captain
on those,
Phillips.
yeah.
Phillips.
Yeah.
that was fun.
Virginia
Just
is for film lovers.
It is indeed. And Z-listers. You know what? We'll make our own A-list. We're gonna build our own VA. The A-list. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on A-listers. We'll see you back again soon. What did I say?
Hey, Z-listers. Hey, you said A-listers. But it's okay. Now we're A-listers.
VA listers, Z-listers. We are Z-listers. Thank you so much.
Hollywood hills are greenish brown, and everything seemed to be so strange. Come from the coast again, and everything seemed to move so slow. When I watch them, there they go, there they go. Walk around now, walk around my Hollywood hotel. They're so strange. My Hollywood hotel. And my cigarette half burned, and the smoke dances around my hand. The church sign's gonna light the sky.